SpongeBob is without a doubt the biggest hit in Nickelodeon's history. We're talking about over 600 episodes released in the past 25 years. But what you probably don't know is why some of the most beloved characters in the series haven't shown up in the cartoon for more than a decade. This is exactly the case with Bikini Bottom's greatest superhero duo, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. The pair spent years fighting crime relentlessly under the sea, but eventually, because of how old they had gotten, they were already living in a retirement home. But even as senior citizens, they still had plenty of energy left to catch the outlaws of Bikini Bottom. However, believe it or not, since 2012 in Season 8, the characters have never appeared in another episode. In that last appearance, they once again foiled a plan where Plankton and the duo's longtime enemy, Man Ray, tried to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula from the Krusty Krab. They arrested their arch-nemesis, went back to the retirement home, and simply disappeared. Forever. But the real reason is much sadder than you might imagine. The truth is that in that same year, 2012, Ernest Borgnine, the voice actor for Mermaid Man, passed away at the age of 95 in Los Angeles. Out of respect for the actor, the show's producers decided not to replace his voice. Since then, the superhero duo has not appeared in any new episodes, only in reruns or brief mentions, but never with speaking roles. And unfortunately, 7 years later, Tim Conway also passed away at age 88, leaving Barnacle Boy without his original voice actor as well. That reinforced the decision, at least for now, for SpongeBob's producers not to bring the superhero duo back in action. If there's an underwater heaven for Bikini Bottom's heroes, they're definitely there. But the duo weren't the only ones who disappeared from SpongeBob. Some vanished for more than 10 years and then came back. Others showed up just once and were never seen again. Get ready to have your mind blown as we take a look at all the characters who disappeared from SpongeBob. Without a doubt, one of the most bitter characters in all of SpongeBob is Bubble Bass. He's a bachelor who still lives with his mom even though he's way too old for that, and he loves to spend his money buying Krabby Patties. In fact, in his very first appearance, he's the villain of the story. In episode 6 of season 1, called Pickles, he lies to everyone saying SpongeBob forgot to put pickles in his Krabby Patty, which we find out at the end was a total lie. After that, he shows up as a background character in another season 1 episode in 1999 and then total disappearance. At least that's what happened for 12 long years, until the overweight bass reappeared in the season 8 episode Plankton's Good Eye, released in 2011. And after that, he became a recurring character in the series, even starring in episodes of his own and making continuous appearances in SpongeBob's spin-off series, Camp Coral. But the real reason behind Bubble Bass's 12-year disappearance will surprise you. The SpongeBob writers simply forgot about him. So he stayed in Nickelodeon's drawer until he was brought back and tossed into the ocean once again. And if you thought Bubble Bass was the only character who disappeared and returned to SpongeBob after more than a decade, you might also remember Kevin, a sea cucumber who created a jellyfish fan club. But here's the thing, he only did it to become popular since he actually knows nothing about jellyfish. He also tried to humiliate and mess with SpongeBob a few times in his debut episode from season 2, released in 2001, called I'm Your Biggest Fanatic. But after being dethroned from his position as leader of the jellyfish fan club and replaced by SpongeBob, Kevin completely disappeared for 15 long years, even though a small part of his body showed up in the season 9 episode Lame and Fortune in 2016. To be more exact, it looked like his leg and foot. Only 3 years later, in 2019, in the episode Jolly Lodgers, did we see him physically again. He's there at the jellyfish convention that SpongeBob and Patrick drag Squidward to. He's taking pictures with fans who have no clue about his true nature. But only in 2022, another 3 years later, did we finally see Kevin return to the series with speaking lines and even a key role in season 13 in the episode Patrick the Mailman, where the starfish has to deliver a subpoena to the fraud. After that, Kevin even shows up in Camp Coral along with Bubble Bass. And the reason he was gone for so long and took so much time to come back is that the character became really unpopular among SpongeBob fans for being considered way too unlikable. And so he ended up forgotten, which honestly is pretty fair. Even though we've seen some other characters of Squidward's species in the show, a few of them are just unforgettable. And that's exactly the case with Squilliam Fancyson, the rival and arch enemy of SpongeBob's favorite coworker. The first time we see him is in one of my favorite SpongeBob episodes, Band Geeks. Still in season 2, he challenges his old rival to put together a band that can play at the underwater Super Bowl and impress him. Despite all the chaos and disasters that happen along the way, during the actual performance the band pulls off an unbelievable show, and SpongeBob himself even delivers an amazing solo. After that, Fancyson showed up in several other episodes and even tried and succeeded in humiliating Squidward. But his very last appearance happened in Code Yellow back in season 10, when Squidward decides to get a nose job. The thing is, that season came out over 8 years ago, maybe even more, depending on when you're watching this video. So after 6 full seasons and dozens of SpongeBob episodes, Fancyson never showed up again. The real reason behind his disappearance was never officially confirmed, but many believe it has to do with the fact that Squidward's enemy was voiced by D. Bradley Baker, the same legendary voice actor behind characters like Perry the Platypus and tons of animals in cartoons. His schedule was always packed, and since Squilliam was more of a secondary character, he just wasn't a priority to bring back in new scripts. And honestly, that explanation explanation makes total sense to me. What about you? Before we move on with the worst and weirdest SpongeBob knockoffs and alternate versions, make sure you smash that subscribe button right now so you don't miss our next videos. Now tell me this, have you seen this meme at least once in your life?
Chocolate! 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 Chocolate!
Yep, the name of this chocolate-obsessed guy is Tom. And without a doubt, the purple-shirted fish got burned into so many people's memories because of that one scene in Season 3's 2002 episode Chocolate with Nuts. But even before that, back in Season 1, he had already appeared as a background character a couple of times, and he kept showing up randomly throughout multiple seasons as the chocolate guy wandering around Bikini Bottom. Later on, we also saw him in different crowd scenes, with his final appearance being in the episode The Goofy Newbie, released in 2019 during Season 12, which was already 6 years ago. One thing's for sure about Tom, whenever there was a crowd scene or a group of Bikini Bottom citizens gathered together, he was there.
Chocolate!
When it comes to phasing out SpongeBob characters, we can say that not even close family members are safe from this list. That's exactly the case with Grandma Squarepants, who you probably remember from the Grandma's Kisses episode in Season 2. In this 2001 episode, we learned that the poor old lady lives alone, doesn't even remember her age, just like me, and every now and then gets a visit from her beloved grandson, SpongeBob. After that, we saw her pop up in a few episodes across Seasons 3, 5, and 7, so she used to appear from time to time. But in 2011, during the Season 8 episode Pet Sitter Pat, we see SpongeBob leaving Gary and Patrick's care because he had to go to his grandma's birthday party. And after that, the poor old lady was completely sidelined, with no one mentioning her name or even remembering she existed, kind of like how people sadly tend to treat the elderly in real life. And truth be told, the reason for Grandma Squarepants' absence is directly tied to her age, because Marion Ross, SpongeBob's grandma's voice actress, officially retired in 2018. That made the creative team stop using the character in speaking roles, limiting her to mentions or silent cameos. But in 2020, after 9 years without the character showing up during the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run, we finally get to see Grandma again, at least in a framed photo at SpongeBob's house. And finally, after that, Nickelodeon managed to convince Marion Ross to come out of retirement for a brief moment when she agreed to voice the character again for the episode Don't Make Me Laugh, released in 2024. In this episode, after watching a romantic movie at the theater, SpongeBob ends up with a laughing fit that lasts practically the whole episode, and the only thing that cures him is hearing his grandma's laugh, which finally snaps him back at the theater. That's when he discovers that his whole family has a brain bone that locks up the laughter mechanism once SpongeBob relatives hit a certain age. We can't say for sure, but it seems like that was Grandma Squarepants' very last appearance in SpongeBob. If you watch SpongeBob, you probably know that the most powerful entity under the sea is none other than King Neptune himself, the same one the Romans used to worship. And believe it or not only is he important in SpongeBob's world, but SpongeBob actually works as his apprentice, as we see at the end of the first episode where the character appears, called Neptune's Spatula, which is the 19th episode of Season 1. After that, the character showed up in a few episodes, where he had lines most of the time, and in others, we only saw him during a musical number. But the fact is that SpongeBob's God of the Sea had a few comebacks and absences in the series, disappearing for years at a time. For example, in 2009, he appeared in the episode Clash of Triton, which is all about him and his son. He then went 8 years without speaking until the episode Trident Trouble, where he and his son reappeared. The following year, in 2018, he made a brief appearance at the end of an episode to punish Old Man Jenkins for impersonating him without permission, striking the old man with lightning bolts. But after that, we went through 7 long years without seeing the King of the Seven Seas again. Until recently, when the SpongeBob game called The Cosmic Shake was released, where Neptune is one of the main characters. But for now, in the animated series, he still hasn't been confirmed to return. Our list is over, but you don't have to leave just yet. We picked out 2 more videos right here on the side so you can keep having fun. Choose one of them and let's jump to the next.